Then I'm going to do this. All right. Hi, I'm Bill Patton with USA Tennis Coach, and it's my honor to have David Smith with me again. And we're going to really zero in on high school tennis and how to build a program. David is now at that magical 4 years in, and we, in the little pre-show, we decided we're going to have a conversation about what happens as you get multiple years in, and how long does it take, and what are the stories of building a program, the ups and downs, the key issues that get resolved. So, David, how are you doing today?
I'm doing well, Bill. I appreciate being here again and getting a chance to share things with you.
All right. Well, you're going to share it with the audience, and I appreciate it. And I think what we're going to see is the possibility that this will become a little bit more regular of
Love it.
thing that we do. So I'm excited about that. All right. So David, congratulations on your state championship there. And I know you talked about how it takes about 4 years to get your program really established. So why don't you just go and run with the story of how did you get here?
As you may know, Bill, I've been in the industry for 45 years. So I've ran the gamut. I started in high school coaching. Then I moved to being a assistant pro, and then a director of tennis, a head pro, and then a director of tennis, and then an academy owner, and so on and so forth. And I've returned 4 years ago to my roots of coaching high school tennis and really enjoying the return of putting into operation what I have learned and have figured out over the many decades. Like I said, almost 45 years of being involved in tennis. But it really was interesting to prove I could do it at what I put my words to use. Just saying, okay, yeah, I honestly believe that I could turn any program into a state championship competitive program in 4 years. And 4 years ago, I took over the girls tennis team at Desert Hills High School and here in Southern Utah. And 4 years ago, I told that group of girls, a lot of them are seniors now, but obviously I've had a few graduate between then and now, and told them 4 years ago, I said, we will win a state title within 4 years. And that was a pretty bold statement, I guess you could say. But I wanted to instill the belief that it could be done in them. And I live with the passion of that belief myself.
Okay. So, and I have to pitch in here too, because I took over a school that had been kind of underachieving at the sectional level. And, California is massive.
Oh, yeah.
Some of our sections here are like states in other places because we have almost 40 million people in this state, right? So I met my kids and said, we will win a section title during the time that I'm here, but I didn't know it would happen in our second year.
Nice.
But yeah. So anyway, so now, what was the very first challenge that you faced as because you instill this vision, and the first thing that happens is you get this disbelief. Who is this crazy guy, right?
Right.
And so, what was the first challenge that came?
I think you're right. I think the convincing and creating the passion in the students themselves, and belief that the sincere belief. You can't just go out and say it. You have to believe it. And the nice thing is, I'm like you. I grew up in Southern Cal, and my father and I had one of the top teams in the country. So I was used to knowing from the experience coaching with my father, against my father, and ultimately after he passed away 35 years ago, I took his place for another 6 years. And we, created a team that won over 400, actually won 700 matches, lost 9 times over a total of almost 30 years that he and I coached. So we had success there in Southern Cal, and I know exactly what you're talking about. The depth of tennis in Southern Cal is enormous compared to most other states. So I moved to Arizona, and then I was there for 6 years. Actually produced a state championship boys and girls team there, and it took a little longer. It took 5 years there, but I learned a lot between that and now. And so my belief is the 4 years it takes is what it takes to develop young players to step into the role of a championship mindset. So back to your original question, the hardest thing is to create a championship mindset, because you get, as you know, Bill, we all get a diverse personality in the group of players that we get year in and year out, and it changes. I mean, you get graduates, you get new freshmen in, and like you and I both, we're working with freshmen to seniors. We're working with a broad range of beginner to highly skilled players that we've developed or have been developed by others as well. And so that the bottom line is creating that cohesiveness so that they are working together as a team. And of course, it's going to vary on many other intrinsic and extrinsic factors that can help prevent that from happening within a short period or make it happen sooner. As you said, you did it in 2 years.
All right. So, yeah, I mean, so you answered my question, but I guess I didn't form my question exactly the way I wanted to. So,
yep, go ahead.
So, what was the first major difficulty presented by the kids towards the program that you had to overcome?
I really don't believe there's a difficulty. It's a process. You're developing players. So the difficulty, I guess you would say, is, okay, do I have players that are going to pay attention, listen? Are they going to adhere to the advanced foundation principles that I present to them? Probably, and Bill, you might also relate to this, and that is we do get players that have been trained by other pros and other coaches. And here I am in Southern Utah, which is not the hotbed of tennis like Southern Cal.
Or, and then let's throw this in there too, by parents, right? And so sometimes that family culture is the thing that wrecks you.
And that's very true. In fact, probably the only problems I had this year were with parents. Most of 99.9% of my parents are extraordinarily appreciative and supportive of what we do. But again, a parent usually looks at things from a individual standpoint. They want their child to succeed in their eyes. They don't see things like we as coaches have to look at it as a team orientation as opposed to an individual perspective. So the parent has to be taught that while we are going to be 100% fair, we also have to look at the team as putting forth the best team out on the court to represent our school and our program. And so that's probably the hardest thing that I've encountered, is that especially with a deep team like I've got probably 12 JV players who would play varsity on any other team in state, any other team, virtually any team. Well, that's great for me as a coach, but that means 12 girls are not going to get to play on my varsity. And that's probably the hardest thing for a lot of these kids to realize, that, geez, look how good these other players are. How am I ever going to reach that level of play to be part of that varsity team that gets all the accolades and all the
right. Okay, so let's unpack that a little bit. Right. So first, there's going to be some pushback on the mindset stuff, because people tend to be selfish.
Yep.
And so because they're selfish, they're thinking about their thing. They're not thinking about the whole global team thing, right? So first you have to find your true believers who really believe in team.
Right. Yep.
And then that last thing that you said, then when the program starts to succeed, then the new thing of the patience of waiting your turn.
Exactly. And you actually end up refining players that either will really embrace that and say, I will move up that ladder. I see these players above me. I tell them all the time. I tell my players, hey, that girl over there has got 2 arms and 2 legs, just like you do. And, they started at the bottom. Not every child who starts in tennis didn't suddenly have a semi-Western forehand inside out, open stance forehand. Everyone, a kick serve is not born. No one's born with a kick serve. I mean, it's taught. And so when players start to look at it as, I've got the same skill factors that they do. How can I now look at myself and achieve what that person has and maybe exceed that? And that's where I really instill in my players. I'm like, hey, yeah, you might play varsity anywhere else, but you've got girls above you who are going to push you, or boys on my boys team, same thing.
Okay,
and,
good. Okay, I want to jump in there for a second.
Yeah, go ahead.
So I was interviewing for this one job with the team that I mentioned before that won a section title, and I was talking to the kids, and I was like, all right, what is your goal, right? What is your goal for this program? And they had no vision. I don't know, win league. I'm like, yeah, but your team has won league 12 straight years, and then it generally bombs out in the first round of sectional playoffs. So, so I'm here to win a section title. What do you think? And they didn't know what to do with that. But okay, so then usually from first year to second year, after I've gained a rapport with the kids, I will go to select players and I'll say, hey, what's your goal for your place on this team? And especially, and more so with the girls don't really always think that way. So I'm like, hey, if you really push for that number one spot, it's not about you being selfish. It's about you making the team better. Right. So if you improve, we're better. And if you push our number one player and she has to improve to beat you, we're better. And if you beat her and now our former number one is playing 2, we're better. So we're just better. Right. And so.
Absolutely. Well, in fact, let me step on that for a second, because we don't cut, and we have, this is my smallest team, 35, because we lost 15 players to a brand new school that just opened up. So they got 15, in fact, 12 of their top 15 are my former players, which is kind of rough for us to give up that many players and yet still win state. And yet, here's the bottom line. Whoever my last girl or boy is on my ladder, I explained to the team and to that player very succinctly, you are the most important player on the team. Why? Because that one, whoever that is, my number 35th girl, is pushing who? The number 34 girl. And if I've got 50 girls and I've got a 50th girl, she's pushing 49. And that means 49 is pushing 48 all the way up to number 1. So the most important player on my team is indeed the last player on my ladder. Because if that girl is working hard and wanting to improve, guess who everyone else is trying to get? She's trying to get the spot above her, and so is everyone else. You talk about a motivational tool, that ladder is the key.
I think we might have been separated from birth on this one. Or you said this and I stole it and made it my own and then took full credit for it or something. I don't know what happened here, but here's what I have, something similar. I say, all right, who's the most important player on the team? And they all say number one player. I'm like, no, it's the worst player, but it's also the number one player, because the number one player challenges the number 2 player.
Yes.
To become better. Right. But it's also everybody in between. So, so that's my big cop out. It makes no sense, but for some reason, teenagers glom onto that perfectly. All right, now, so I think we've kind of handled sort of the vision and the mindset and goal setting aspect. So what's the next stage after that begins to, where you maybe have some conflict because people aren't buying in?
Well, usually it's self-eliminating. If a player is not buying in, they're not going to stay. We work hard. We challenge our players heavily, both physically, both in a challenge ladder mindset, as well as our drills. And we average. We figure, my assistant and I figure, we hit close to 12,000 balls every 12 minutes. Within our drill portion of our practices. So we're hitting far more balls than most programs. So that's, that player that's not really going to be interested in being a team player and wanting that same goal will probably not stay with the program more than a year. And that's very rare, but it has happened. And usually, I had a good example. I had a boy who didn't play last year, last season. It's coming back out this year, and he's felt that he really made a mistake. And, you know, he now wants to be back part of our success in our program. So in all honesty, most of those kind of situations sort of self-eliminate or correct themselves over time. So
Yeah,
I don't think that's,
interesting.
yeah, I never have had that problem because we always have a large team. I never want to lose a child. I never want to lose a player off my program, but it's inevitable. I hate it when I hear pros say, oh, I got to change my program so I don't lose this one kid. You're going to lose kids. I don't care if you're a high school coach or a pro at a club. Kids are not all going to pick up tennis with the same love and passion as everyone else. So to change or diminish your program, I think is a bad thing in the long run.
Well, and this is where I think I'm a little more harsh than you. And I often say a lot of people get ground up and spit out by the Patton machinery. So, but my message is, hey, I'm here protecting this unity that we have.
Yes.
So if we allow negativity into our program, then it's going to be a serious blow to everyone. So
Absolutely.
in fact, just Monday, I gave like a Lou Gossett Jr. in officer and a gentleman speech to my girls, you know, because we were having this problem. There was a little bit of negativity and a little bit of disrespect coming my way. I was hearing little comments about things that I would say or do. So I got everybody on the line. Get your toes on the line, you slimy worms. And I said, hey, look, you know, I'm hearing this negativity. I'm hearing some disrespect directed at me, and it's starting small, and we're going to nip that on the bud. And if that's you and you want to continue acting like that, maybe you should leave.
Yep.
Right. Well, not only did no one leave, but we went on to have one of our very best practices so far. And that has continued on into the next day and whatnot. So, I mean, I think you are a kinder, gentler coach to some degree than I am, but you know,
no, let me tell you this. At the very beginning of the year, I was a school teacher, and very first lesson I ever learned in my student teaching days were you can be as hard as you can be your first week of school because it's easier to back off and be kinder, if you want to use that word. And the first week of practice and meeting with parents, I'm very, very firm in explaining in no uncertain terms what I expect, and I will not tolerate blah, blah, blah. And so we don't run it, but Bill, we have days where the girls or the boys are kind of just, they're goofing off, they're not focused, they're not being in tune with the goal that we've set forth. And sometimes I will sit down and talk to them just as you did. And you're right. You end up getting them reconnected to the goal of what you're doing as a team. And you end up sometimes with the best practices after that kind of come to Jesus kind of moment.
Yeah. But now here's the other thing, that because there's always balance to this. I mean, I listen to what kind of goofing off is happening, because there's goofing off to avoid work,
right?
And then there's this fun that the kids are having, and you can tell that they're really developing a stronger rapport. So, like for instance, if we're on a water break and it's a scheduled 5-minute, full 5-minute, you know, water break, but I can just tell from the tone of the conversation that they're really having a great time.
Right.
And I just sort of walk away and give them another 2 full minutes on that.
Absolutely.
So yeah, I mean, so I'm not, yeah, I mean, I think that's like sacred time. And if you always blow that up as a coach, then you have a hard time maintaining morale.
And I think a lot of younger coaches who are passionate but not experienced fail in recognizing what you just identified, and that is the camaraderie or joyfulness that sometimes a practice provides, or the relief, or whatever, however it emerges from a practice, you've got to sometimes let that evolve a little bit and let those girls or boys enjoy each other. And you're absolutely correct. And we have many times where we have just those moments where as a coach you just sit there and go, gosh, this is awesome. This is so fun to see these kids interreact, interrelate, play off each other. Again, making those lifetime, hopefully memories, but certainly lifetime friendships too.
Yeah. Well, one thing that's been really fun for me is all of a sudden my girls have gotten good enough at volleying that they can hit each other with the ball.
Uh-huh.
And
Well,
I mean, just now it's just like they've become bloodthirsty savages, right? And
well,
and after they survive a couple of those, then the emotional impact of Blythe just hit on with the ball. Right? Now
right.
it's just like, ha, gotcha again. So, I mean, we've made that transition now where it's not a personal attack and I hate you to.
It's the right shot.
This is how I win points.
Yeah.
So.
Well, and that's so funny you bring that up, because I'm a big stickler on volley technique, and our doubles teams are always without question the finest teams, really. And part of that is, of course, because of our volley confidence that good volley technique leads to. And we have an ongoing joke that I give my girls ice cream if they hit their opponent with a poached volley, because that's where the ball should go. It's not intentionally to hit the player, but if you try to avoid that player, you risk hitting it out, or you risk hitting it where the back person gets it, and the point move. They lob you, or they're back in the point. And so all of our opponents kind of know that we have the ongoing ice cream reward. We don't ever give it, but it's kind of become an ongoing joke that, hey, how many times did you hit your opponent?
Well, and that's great. And for the kids that have a future in college tennis, then they're going to be better prepared for that and whatnot. But, and now it's funny because here I have a mental thing that I teach the girls. So to help empower them, it's like, okay, after you hit them, you're going to ask them if they're okay.
Exactly.
And you will be sincere. So you really want to know, are they okay?
Absolutely.
Because you're communicating, it's not my intent to hurt you.
Exactly.
I mean, we're aiming knees and below. We don't want a lot of chest high balls, right?
We're not going for headshots here.
Right. But I tell them, I don't want you to say sorry, because you're not sorry. And so that's disingenuous. And then when you say sorry, that is a social contract that you'll try not to do it again.
That's kind of true.
So don't sign that social contract.
We simply do one thing. We raise our hand or our racket, and we don't even say sorry. We don't say, are you okay? We just raise our racket. I mean, I've had a girl, my state champion last year, hit a forehand. She had a forehand that was probably, 90 miles an hour for a girl. And she tagged the girl right between the eyes at the net with a forehand. I mean, knocked her. It looked like, the Matrix. I mean, the girl falls back in slow motion. Everyone, I had another girl give another girl a bloody nose with a backhand because we hit so hard. A lot of these teams don't see it. And my girls, I actually hit overheads at them at the net to train them to learn to trust a reaction, because the reactions are much faster than your intent. And so my girls are bloody ready for any ball to be hit at them, because they're in good position. They know how to defend in doubles if they're playing doubles, and they know how to trust a reaction. So we get so many balls back, even when a girl does poach and hit it at us, we're in usually the right spot. So I mean, you're right. There's a decorum, but there's also every so often I've had a coach, and actually it was in California. I had a coach go, your boys keep hitting my boys. And I said, that's because your boys are always in the wrong spot.
Yeah.
And I said,
maybe
he was actually asking me to tell my players not to hit his boys. And I'm like, I'm not going to tell my boys that. That's the ideal spot to hit the shot.
Yeah.
If you,
I mean,
I'm sorry.
If we're bagling people, then I'm going to tell my guys, all right, hit the opening, please.
Exactly. Or you're playing mixed doubles or whatever. Yeah, exactly.
Don't rub it in. No, and every once in a while you run into a team that's got a bad attitude. And I was coaching this one team, and there's all sorts of derogatory comments coming our way, and we were getting our lunch handed to us pretty we were getting it handed to us. So pretty much all my doubles teams are down a set and a break. So I just, on the changeover, I said, I don't care if you win, but I want you to hit the ball very close to them, right? So if it touches their shirt,
yep, to your point,
that's great. Yeah, make it touch their shirt, because I want them to feel the ball. And, the interesting thing was, my kids, by making the contest a little more physical, next time around, that team didn't act that way.
Interesting.
And I went to the other coach. I was like, do you see what's happening out there, right? I pointed out the fact that we were headhunting, and the coach took note of that, and then he dealt with that issue. So, it's interesting. I mean, I kind of,
it's part of the game.
Well, I like the fact that doubles becomes actually a physical contest, and because it gives you it gives the kid. Maybe I can learn how to talk. It gives the kids some toughness. So.
It does, and the other thing about doubles, it's all about momentum. And when you poach a ball and you drive it through, or they hit it right to you as a net player, and you drive that ball through their partner, not only have you won the point, but you've now got a net player on the other side kind of looking at his partner going, why'd you set me up? Or,
right.
So there's that. But the other thing I'll add to that is we also train angle volleys, tremendously sharp angle volleys. Mm-hmm. So we will oftentimes poach a shot and hit a sharp angle winner, as opposed to going through the net man. If it's a low ball, if it's a high ball, we'll still take it through the net man.
Right.
But the really fun thing is to see the momentum and see the wind when a player hits a low shot, but my player sticks their racket on a sharp angle and hits that sharp angle back across the, to the open court.
Well,
that's almost as valuable.
Because here's the look I like to see on the opponents.
Yep. How'd you do that?
What did you just do? Yeah, I mean then the other team becomes in awe of your team. Wait, you're capable of doing what? Yeah,
it elevates the respect, because not only can we drill it at you, but we can hit a soft shot, drop shot, or angle volley. It really takes you to another level.